Deputy Stephen Donnelly.
I think it's fair to say that the last government did get some things right in a difficult environment, but it also got many things wrong. And after 5 years in here trying to change some of the things that I believe and the Social Democrats believe it got wrong, my conclusion is at the heart of the errors that the last government made was a failure of ideology. Allowing a republic where 1 child in 9 lives in daily poverty, allowing that to continue is not a failure of policy, it's a failure of ideology. Implementing 5 regressive budgets in a row, designing and implementing 5 budgets in a row that asked those who had the least to bear the greatest burden, that was a choice. It was a very damaging choice, and it was a failure of ideology. Selling over 13,000 family mortgages from IBRC to vulture funds, many of whom are now having to deal with those vulture funds who are making very serious profits. Allowing that to happen rather than facilitating the families when every other situation had to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis was a failure of ideology. Campaigning to cut taxes at a time when parents are putting their children to sleep in the backs of cars is a failure of ideology. And that failure of ideology continues through to the leaked document that we saw, where we're going to see tax to investment ratios, tax cuts to investment ratios of 1 to 2. The previous government, and Fine Gael in particular, campaigned on a slogan, "We have to make work pay." It's one of the 3 pillars of their 130-page manifesto. We have to make work pay. And the ideology says that if you tax people for working, you are disincentivizing them from working, so they won't work. So you have to make it pay for them to work. But objective, impartial analysis from the OECD says that actually Ireland has between the lowest and the 4th lowest tax wedge, tax on work in the OECD, depending on what type of family you're in. So the government that is coming in now, backed up by the document where they are going to continue with tax cuts to make work pay, because presumably work doesn't pay, at a time when 1 in 9 children are living in daily poverty, at a time when we are dealing with a homelessness crisis, at a time when there aren't enough guards on the streets, it is not just a failure of policy, it is an absolute failure of ideology. The Social Democrats, I'm sure with many people here, would love to be in government. We would love to be driving policy, but we do not see evidence that the ideology has changed. As other members have referenced before, there are some welcome phrases that hopefully will be followed through in this coming Dáil. But what we don't see is a change in the ideology that has led to an awful lot of very bad things happening to a lot of vulnerable people in this country over the last 5 years. We are hopefully at a time where we can start rebuilding society. And if we are to rebuild a republic that genuinely provides every single man, woman and children with dignity, and that genuinely provides every man, woman and child with opportunity, then we need to do it with a different ideology, with an ideology based on values of dignity, of genuine equality and democracy. And so, for this reason and many others, the Social Democrats do not believe that the ideological basis of what we are about to see will be good for this country, and for that reason we will be voting against this government. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Donnelly.